Hey, Sales Maven listeners, we have an awesome show for you today. Before we start, there's something extra special available right now for a very limited time. It's the 2023 Master Pass. The Master Pass gets you instant registration into all 4 master classes being taught in 2023. These classes will elevate your selling skills. They will boost your confidence in all of your conversations. And frankly, they will show you ways to make more money. Plus, by grabbing the pass, you automatically receive 2 brand new bonuses this year. So just like everything offered to the Sales Maven community, this pass brings incredible value that will benefit you immediately as well as for years to come. So go grab it right now by going to yoursalesmaven.com/master pass. Again, this is only available for a few days, so get it right now. And in case this is helpful, there is a payment plan available. I am super excited to see you in the master classes in 2023. Now, here's the show.
Do sales conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki Roush, will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Roush. I'm your own personal sales maven here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversations. Today's episode, I'm super excited. It's a sales success story with one of our very own Sales Maven Society members. It's Therese Jardine. Hey, friend. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today, Nikki.
I always have to sing your name, and I don't really know why, but I think you delight me. That's what I'm going to say. That's my reason. And I feel like I sing your name all the time. Whenever you're on the calls and I call on you, it's always like I sing your name, but I feel delighted by you.
Thank you for that.
So there's that. Okay, so let's tell everybody a little bit about you and your business. Give us a little bit of your story.
Well, I probably am going to win the award for most unusual timing ever.
Okay.
Because I left Microsoft in 2019 and decided that I wanted to start my own business.
Okay.
And I'm in the events industry, and I started my business on January 1st of 2020.
In the events industry, I just want to emphasize that, people. Okay. Yeah.
In the events industry. So, I was really excited. I got a couple clients right away and everything looked great. And then, as we all know, everything just kind of flatlined. So I took advantage of the time to learn a lot. And happily, I'm still here and I've been able to build my client base.
Yeah.
But what I offer, my company is Strategic Event Procurement. And it's a very unique service offering in that I take the experience that I got from Microsoft and I help event organizers, meaning companies or associations who have an event portfolio. I help them with their procurement strategy to manage those events more effectively. The other side of my business, which unexpectedly took off during the pandemic, is I help event agencies manage their relationships with their clients' procurement departments. And I don't think anybody else does that. So, if they've got an RFP coming up or they've got a rate card negotiation, they pay me to sit on their side of the table to help them make it through the process as intact as possible.
Which is such an invaluable service that you're offering to companies. And now I know this because I came from the tech space, and a lot of our, and we sold a lot of product into education, and everything has to go through procurement, and things went out to bid and you're writing RFPs and there's this whole process to it. Some of my clients had bid departments. Their whole job was to just go through the RFP, which is basically like what does RFP actually stand for?
Request for proposal.
Thank you. I'm like, I want to say proposal, but there's other things attached here. So request for a proposal, which depending on who you're selling to can be quite in depth. And when there's contracts, when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars, like you got to dot every I, you got to cross every T, because they're essentially looking for how many of these can we just throw out as quickly as possible, the submissions, I think, so that we only have to review the ones that actually qualify, right? So can we just get rid of ones that didn't follow the procedure?
Well, there's that, yes. And I do offer, folks that have lost business, if they want to get a taste of what it's like to work for me, I will do, as a get to know you, I'll do a complimentary review on the RFP where they didn't win the business. And then kind of help them understand what went wrong. And 9 times out of 10, they end up wanting to purchase a strategy session package or something for the next RFP, because they're just like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that before.
Yeah, because if you're new to submitting these types of proposals, again, there's a lot of detail involved, and it's crossing every T, dotting every I. I think I might have said that backwards before. I'm not sure, but the whole idea, though, is you have to really know what you're doing, and to have somebody like you who came from that world, whose job was to look at these submissions and go through and select who were the people that met the criteria, and then start to do the evaluation as to who was going to actually win the deal, especially at a company like Microsoft, which I'm sure most, I'm going to say most, maybe that's not a right true term, but quite a bit of their business, I'm sure, is RFP based business.
There's a fair amount of it is.
Yeah.
The most interesting ones where, we were using one agency and wanted to switch to a new agency for any number of reasons. It could be that the existing agency was just kind of done with us, or they couldn't, they had change in staff and couldn't support the volume anymore.
Right.
Or the event trajectory kind of changed. And so we needed somebody with a different skill set. But the interesting thing was the ones that kept coming in second. And, and they would ask me, what did we do wrong? And I would help them kind of figure out what they could have done differently. And the hardest conversations were the ones where they didn't lose the business. They just didn't win the business. And that's where, you have these, usually it came down to 2 agencies, and they were both really good presentations. Nothing wrong with either one of them. But this one just spoke more to the internal client, and so those were always interesting conversations to have. But then, talking about RFPs, people hate doing them too. I mean, not only do the agencies, kind of go, oh my God, what are we going to do? Corporations sometimes they struggle. In fact, my newest client is just that. They've got to do a big RFP it's going to be a pretty big program for them. And it's a very unique project that they're working on. And she's like, I've never done an RFP like this before. I have no idea where to even start. And she says, I don't even know where to go get people. And this was a woman that I had met at a conference recently. And I said, well, Heather, that's what I do. Yeah. So it was kind of one of those serendipitous moments.
Yeah. Those are those thank goodness moments. There's people like you out there to help those of us. I know I've had a couple requests for people who've asked me to do sales trainings, and they want me to submit an RFP. And my answer is no. I'm not doing that. There's no way for the type of business that I'm doing and who I want to work with. Honestly, I've turned down a few of those, but I also know one of my last corporate gigs, one of my last corporate jobs before I left the tech industry, was I took the job having been told by the company that was hiring me that they already had found out that they had won this huge contract in my territory. And I was very familiar with this contract. It was, it's a year-long contract. It's, potentially millions of dollars worth of sales. And to lose a contract like that, where then you cannot sell anything into that school district for the whole year was painful. So they said, no, we won this contract. We've got it. Like, we already know we're, number one. Well, I took the job. They ended up getting thrown out because they had done something. And so we lost the contract. It was like wah wah to start a job knowing that this huge part of my territory was now going to be gone. Now, I will say, I did find a back door into that particular district, and I ended up selling a huge amount of money or product to them. It was I think it was about a $700,000 deal that I closed. And then my company merged with another company, and they took my sale and gave it to somebody else, even though I had already closed the deal, but they gave it to the new guy in the territory because they split up my territory. And that was pretty much the end of my, I quit soon after because I was like, first of all, you guys stuck me with, you didn't win the contract. You totally misled me. And then you take away a $700,000 sale and you give it to somebody who never even spoke to the client. And I got in on a back door and sold product that you couldn't move. Oh, anyway.
They probably, it's always kind of interesting because, one of the things that I learned in procurement is that, the good news is events is a relationship business.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad news is events is a relationship business.
Yes.
And if they did that deal based on their relationship with you, that guy's ability to maintain the business going forward would have been probably pretty hampered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and just to
he quit right after me because he wasn't really qualified, frankly. He was a nice guy. He decided to go sell insurance for his father-in-law. He wasn't really cut out for the kind of sales that we were doing. And not that there was anything wrong with him. He's a really great guy. But they ended up losing him too. And I was like, well, I'm glad you gave him all my commission. Thank you so much. That was,
the universe has a way, I think, of correcting things.
Mm, yeah.
So I'm always very careful about what I put out into the universe because that karma boomerang, that thing that comes back to hit you on the head, you want it to be a nice, kind, soft.
Maybe that was my karma for getting the deal taken away. I don't know. Like I wronged somebody. That was my karma. I don't know. Anyway. All right. So one of the other things I know that people love about you is you have this ability to put together contract language that really does help for the contract negotiations. And that's another piece. And I don't know that you really mentioned that, but I want to comment on it because that is another thing that I think really sets you apart is that, one of the things that we know when everything shut down is there were a lot of contracts in place.
Oh.
Right. And, event spaces, big, huge conferences that were set to go, a lot of contracts signed. Yeah. And I know you've shared, I don't know if you feel like sharing this story on the podcast, but I always thought your story was kind of interesting about the hotel that changed hands, that you guys had a contract for your people to stay and roaches. At. Yes.
Rodents and roaches, oh my. Yes, that one, that's where being too specific in a contract can definitely bite you. And thank you for bringing up contracts because, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been told by several of my lawyer friends that I could effectively play one on TV.
Well, that's a big compliment. I like that.
It's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
And I've been working in contracts one way or another for almost my whole career, not just at Microsoft, but in a prior life. And particular to events, you're right. The clauses that go into these contracts, especially when you're talking about mega $1 million conferences, like this rodents and roaches stories, that one word tripped us up. And, for folks who haven't heard the story, we had this hotel changed hands and the condition of the property didn't stay the same as it was when we signed the contract. And when we had people start to arrive and check in, the housing line just exploded because people were complaining. And when I sent the sourcing manager over to talk to the hotel, it was just, the place was a mess. It was filthy, it was unkempt. It was just horrible. And she very smartly said, well, we're going to declare force majeure because this place is not, it's not up to the standards. And the sales manager very curtly pulled out the contract, slapped it down, and he says, your force majeure clause says bed bug infestation. We don't have a bed bug infestation. And she says, but there's rodents and there's roaches. And he says, yes, and they're not bed bugs.
Oh, geez.
And so lesson one, that was the one, don't be too specific. But then the backfall on that was we had another clause that dictated that if the property didn't stay in the same condition and they couldn't remedy it within 24 hours, then we could exit without any financial penalty.
Yeah.
Which we did use that one, but then we had about 150 people who we needed to find hotel rooms for, like right now.
Right.
So that was another challenge to face. But then, so understanding the hotel contracts is one of my zones of genius, if you will. But again, the agency clients hire me to preview their agreements before they send them off to their lawyers. So I charge less than a lawyer, most lawyers anyway. And so I can go through, and since I've looked at, hundreds of contracts in my life, I can easily spot the parts that are going to cause problems for an event agency. And it's kind of funny because I've looked at a lot of the tech company contracts and they read remarkably the same. I think they all use the same same lawyer, or the same template or whatever. A client that just got a hold of me, I was working with them last week and the week before, they're going through a merger. And so they hired me to help them go through all of the clients that they're going to have to notify about this merger and, what that impact might have on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of time in contracts.
And I'm just going to say, bless you for the people like me who please don't make me have to pay close attention to contracts. I'd rather pay somebody else to do that for me. So I love what you do. I think it's phenomenal. And we brought you on to the podcast specifically because you are having some really phenomenal success. And I know there was something that I'm not going to steal your thunder here. So I'm going to let you tell the story about what are some of the things that you have implemented recently and had a lot of success with in your business. And I think it's important for people to hear that anybody can do these things and have success in sales, even if you're somebody who comes from procurement or anywhere else.
Procurement are people too.
That's right.
Well, I think the biggest thing has been your advice to ask questions. So asking questions both in person and in email has made a big difference. And just, I think it was last week, I launched one of my Black Friday email marketing campaigns and ended up getting a sale on one of my contract clause packages from somebody who wasn't even on my list. So someone on my list forwarded one of my emails, and unfortunately I wasn't able to figure out how, who did it. But somebody who wasn't on my email list placed an order. And I think it's due in part to, the courses I've taken with you, the email masterclass and the second one, what was that? Content that converts.
So there's the conversion email sequences. I know you took that one.
That one, yeah.
Sales script for increasing influence.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I'm signed up for the one that starts in a week. So I was like, keep the names of them straight. But I've been using, those workbooks and going through that methodology, and of course taking advantage of, the opportunity to put things onto the Sales Maven Society for input in advance. And I'm noticing a lot more engagement with my emails.
I love that.
Yeah. So, now I have to be careful of I use Active Campaign. Shout out to Active Campaign.
I love Active Campaign too.
I've really enjoyed most of the functionality that they offer. And one of them is that this is can almost be a distracting little bit, but you could go in and see who's clicked the links.
Yeah.
And so I'll go in and I'll click and go, ooh, 7 people clicked on it, but they didn't buy yet. Wonder why, and and then I think it was in the last coaching call, you used a phrase of, could you help me understand why you won't give this offer a fair try?
Yeah. What's stopping you from giving this offer a fair try?
Yeah. So I've put that into my last sequences. So stay tuned because they're not done running yet.
Yeah.
So that's been, it's been a lot of fun for me because, I don't come very much from a selling background, but I know how being sold to feels when it's done well and when it's done poorly. So that's been super helpful. I think you've ruined me now, though, because whenever I get really bad emails from other people, I always feel like, especially if it's a woman, I feel like sending them, you might just give this a try.
It's a blessing and a curse, right? It's like once you know it, you can't unknow it. So you'll be better. And sometimes I will put a disclaimer and I'm going to be like, so I'm about to teach you guys something that once you know it, you're going to be so much better. And what everybody else is doing is going to drive you nutty. So I get it. Yep. I feel the same. I was having one of those moments about an hour ago of something somebody was doing that I'm just like, oh, I need to record a podcast episode about this. Like, knock this off, people. And it drives me nutty. And I want to be supportive of what people are doing. But it's still like misconceptions about like that this works in sales. It doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that this whole concept of sending email promotions was kind of new to you. Is that true? Had you been selling to your list?
No. I mean,
I wish everybody could see your face when you just answered that.
They could probably hear it in my voice.
Yeah.
I think I thought I was trying to.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't, for the life of me, coming up with a call to action was just out of my grasp. And, and so prior to starting all of this, the business that I was getting was really word of mouth. And then luckily the pandemic has lifted quite a bit. And, I've actually been able to build my list because my whole marketing plan was going to conferences and events and speaking opportunities.
Right.
Because I have a lot to share about my experience.
You sure do.
And when I finally, I broke through and got selected to do a webinar for a major event publication. And my business coach said, put a QR code at the end of your slide deck. Don't just rely on them to count on your contact information. So the QR code takes them to a form on my website where they can fill out, yes, I want the, contract resources page or the getting started checklist for, some other things that I work on. And that alone gave me a list to sell to. And, and using the tags and all those kinds of things that you can do in Active Campaign, segmenting has made it so much easier. So I can send a Black Friday offer to my agencies where I'm going to offer them, a strategy session package because RFPs and rate card negotiations are coming up. A lot of companies do that in January, February.
Right.
And then the event organizers, they're going to be the ones interested in the hotel contract clauses and things like that. So I actually had 2 campaigns going at the same time.
Which is so exciting for me, I will say, as your sales coach, to watch you do these things. One of the things that I absolutely appreciate about you is you are a fantastic implementer. So you will take something that I'll share and then you'll be like, I'm doing this. And then you go and do it. And then sometimes you'll post in the group and like, here's what I did, Nikki. And, any feedback before it goes out to my whole list or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you run with it and you are getting results. And I feel like this was actually something that somebody on my team brought up. They're like, we need to get her on the podcast because it's like every week, it's like, here's my win this week. And it's like, you're having these really big, great wins because you're such a great implementer. So I want to acknowledge that and appreciate that about you. I love people who implement. I love people who are willing to do things that maybe they haven't done before, but it's like, hey, I'll try it and see what happens. And then of course, when you get to share your successes, it's very exciting for all of us.
I saw a quote from a woman who's also gone out to on her own for business. She was one of the lawyers that I worked with at Microsoft, and she made a comment on one of her LinkedIn posts that she learned that she was an intrapreneur while she was at Microsoft because she put together these programs and sold it out to the people and all of that stuff. And I said, oh my gosh, that was me. Because I put in place programs that did not exist at Microsoft, and some of them, could have been very unpopular. But the way that I spun it for them, and gave them kind of a carrot to follow, people were like, why would I not do this?
Yeah.
And, and so a lot of that is kind of what I've taken into business for myself. And, and it's, I love analogies. I love analogies. And so I like to tell people that I have tripped over the rocks and stepped on the rake so they don't have to.
Yes.
I mean, and if, like the client that I just signed for the RFP, I said, I haven't been in your field yet, but I'm pretty sure I can tell you about where the big rocks are that are going to trip you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I won't know exactly, but at least I'll know generally where to look so that we can hopefully not fall over them. And, just the fact that I had all those experiences and was able to tell it to her in a storytelling way, I think was what, got me signed.
Yeah.
For that particular project.
That's when we're going to hire experts, we want people who are going to save us time, headaches, energy, all of that. And so that's what you're doing in your field. And for you, the listener, my guess is that's what you're doing in your field as well, is helping people save them time, save them stress, save them all these things because like here are some places where we got to look out for this and we got to look out for that. So I love that. All right. So
one more thing I just wanted to say is the thing that I have in my head from you whenever I'm having a call or sending an email is build and maintain rapport.
Say amen.
Amen, sister. Yeah.
Yes. Build and maintain rapport. I'm going to say, if you can quantify everything I teach in one little sentence, that's it right there. Build and maintain rapport.
Yeah.
It matters. It counts.
Yep. It really does.
It gets you so much closer to the end game. So I love that. Okay. So as we wrap up, 2 last questions for you. What's one benefit that you've received from being in the Sales Maven Society this last year?
Well, I've tremendously increased my ability to do email marketing. But I think that to sum it down into the one benefit is being able to go into the Sales Maven Society, put out, hey, I think I'm going to do this. This is how I want to word this. And having you and sometimes the other society members, just give me that one little tweak that just makes it so much better. It gives me a lot more confidence when I actually hit the send button on that particular email, knowing that you have looked at it and then some of my peers, I just feel a whole lot better that it's going to land.
It's such a great supportive group, the people in there that are they love to pour into each other. And I know you do this for others as well. You really pour into people in the group. And so, it's a great group.
Well, and I've met several, some people I knew before I joined, but then there have been others that I've met that, we've taken things offline and just kind of got to know each other a little bit better. So it's, just for that is nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty phenomenal group. I brag about you guys all the time. I feel so lucky, so blessed for the group and the community aspect of it, and how many people have built relationships outside of the group that started inside the group. That to me is one of the biggest benefits, I'm going to say, I think, of being in the group. I know I've been in one other group where I've had that experience as well, and those relationships are priceless to me. So it's an honor that that's happening in our group too. So, all right. So last question is, how can people get a hold of you? People who might need some help with some RFP review or some contract negotiations and need some support from you. What's the best way?
They can send me an email to Therese at strategiceventprocurement.com, which is a big long mouthful, and I'm sure you'll put that in the show notes.
We are going to put it in the show notes, because I will say you do spell your name, I think, uniquely. So spell your name out for everybody.
Therese.
Yes. So there you go. Therese. Yes, her email will be in the show notes. If you need some help, contract negotiation, or not contract negotiation, but contract writing, or looking at your contracts, having them reviewed. If you're doing event planning, this is your gal, people. Like, seriously, this is your person. So get in touch with her.
And Nikki, I've also got a link on my website where they can book a call with me if they want to have a short get to know you phone call. And
throw out your website again.
Yeah, it's www.strategiceventprocurement.com.
There you go.
And I'm on LinkedIn with just the /Therese Jardine, all one word.
Yeah. So connect. She's amazing. You'll love her. I do. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming on and sharing your success. It is a delight to watch you soar, I will say.
Thank you. This was the highlight of my week.
Oh,
and
thank you.
It's only Monday, so it's only going to get better.
It is only Monday. Well, okay. So I got a lot to live up to. We'll see how it is by the end of the week, but happy to have you here. And thank you to you, the listener, for being here. Thanks for showing up each week. Thanks for sharing the episodes. Thanks for commenting about the episodes. Thanks for your reviews. All of that means the world to me. And if you want to share what your takeaway was from today, I would love to hear from you. And if you haven't joined the Sales Maven Society yet, come join, hang out with us. There are some really rockin' cool people in there, and we're waiting for you. So, all right, have a great rest of your day, and talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.